What's up YouTube? It's your boy Nash here. Welcome back to the channel, and today I have an updated Arcana Knight deck profile for you guys today. This is actually using the new cards from the Animation Chronicle 2022, which will be basically our Battles of Legend. And truth be told, I actually gave this deck sort of a little bit of a makeover. As far as the main deck goes, the extra deck is pretty much the same. The side deck is about the same. Is about the same. Just because they're mainly going up against decks that have like banishing effects and effects in the graveyard, and of course too extra deck heavy, decks and whatnot. It's basically that, and then of course the extra deck, I guess, pretty much is pretty much the same. So, but other than that, nothing really much has changed, other than the fact that I have the Royal Straight Slasher and the Royal Straight in the deck. Did a bit of a redo with the deck, but still, it's about as consistent as it can get. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you guys do and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and turn on the notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any future content. And make sure you guys are following me on Twitter and Instagram, as I always post the deck lists of these deck profiles on Instagram. The links will be in the description below. And if you guys want to send me fan mail and you guys want to see me open it up on the channel, the info will be in the description as well. Let's get straight into it. First up, obviously if you're playing this deck, you have to have 2 copies of the King's Knight, Queen's Knight, Jack's Knight lineup. You gotta have at least 2 copies of this. Any more than that, and it's pretty much a break. You're not gonna be able to get out the full power of this deck. So it's better to put these cards at 2 each. Plus with cards like Joker's Knight and Joker's Stray and Joker's Wild, you're pretty much just guaranteed to have all 6 of these cards back into your deck easily. Then, of course, I am running 2 copies of Arcana Triumph Joker. This card is basically the Slifer, the Sky Dragon of the whole deck. I actually chose not to run Slifer in this one, just because of the fact that I don't want to maximize the amount of bricks that are already in the deck. Like, already right now, if you think about the bricks that are in the deck, as far as like your opening hand goes, obviously the Royal Street Slasher is gonna be one of the biggest bricks that they may have, as will Jack's Knight. Jack's Knight is also gonna be another brick, because the main focus of this whole deck, you guys know, the focus of the whole deck is to get out cards like Access Code, cards like Arcana Extra Joker, bring out Zeus off of Time Thief Redoer. Get out, Ally of Justice Decisive Armor, and cards like Guilty Gear Freak, the Magical Steel Knight, which is a super poly target, which I'm running in the deck, and I'll explain even further of why later on. So I don't want to maximize the amount of bricks that are already in the deck. But Triumph Joker can be a brick, but it all depends on your board. Whatever your board is, then Triumph Joker can be a brick, but still having 2 in the deck is really cool, because off of Royal Straight, you can summon Triumph Joker just like that, which is just insane. And speaking of Royal Straight, I am running 1 copy of Royal Straight Slasher. I talked about this on the channel before, but if you guys are new to the channel right now and you did not watch that video, Royal Street Slasher is a 6-star light warrior with 2400 attack and 1350 defense, and says that it cannot be normal summon or set. It has to be special summon with Royal Straight. And if you have King's Knight, Queen's Knight, and Jack's Knight in your graveyard, you can send one monster of each level between 1 and 5 from your hand and or deck to the grave, and you can destroy all cards that your opponent controls. And when this card is destroyed by battle, you can target up to 3 Light Warriors in your grave and special summon them. And you're basically just ignoring all of their summoning conditions. So in a scenario where where Slasher is gone, it's just is sent to the graveyard. You can recreate your board with Triumph Joker, Extra Joker, and I'll say Arcana Night Joker, which Night Joker is basically an Omni-Negate, which is just absolutely insane. But there's also another there's another card in the extra deck that's an Omni-Negate, which is my Super Poly target. Excuse me, which I'll get to that a little later on. But in a scenario where you do have one of all 3 knights in your graveyard, and you have monsters in your hand and deck with levels between 1 and 5, you send them all to your graveyard, and your opponent's whole board is gone. It's basically as if you're running a second Zeus, which is just absolutely insane. The funny thing though is that the big difference between Zeus and Slasher is that Zeus destroys your board as well. Slasher does not. So that's why I decided to run one copy of Slasher, because Royal Stray can actually be a second, third, and fourth monster reborn in the deck, because I already have a reborn in the deck. Royal Stray can be a second, third, and fourth monster reborn, which is really good. Then of course I am running 2 copies of Joker's Knight. This card is basically not. This is sort of like a combo starter of sorts. So what the card does is, in order to summon it, in order to special summon it from your hand, you basically get to send one King's Knight, Queen's Knight, or Jack's Knight from your deck to your graveyard, and you summon it to your field. And if it's summoned this way, it becomes the sent monster. It becomes the sent monster's name until the end phase. So in a scenario where you have King's Knight in your hand, you send Queen's Knight to your grave, special summon Joker's Knight, normal summon the King's Knight, trigger King's Knight's effect, and allows you to get out Jack's Knight right off the bat, and you can instantly go into your Arcana Extra Joker, or you can go into your Nightmare Unicorn plays and just break your opponent's board that way, which is absolutely insane. But what's even more cool about this card is that if it's in your graveyard during the end phase, you can target one of the light warrior in your grave, shuffle it into the deck, and add Joker's Knight back to your hand. This works in conjunction with Arcana Triumph Joker, because Triumph Joker gains 500 attack for each card in both players' hands. So in a scenario where your opponent has, let's say, 4 cards in hand, let me get my calculator on my phone. So let's say your opponent has 4 cards, but you only have, let's say, 3. Let's say 3, and you have Joker's Knight, Joker's Straight, and Joker's Wild in your graveyard. You can send one of all 3 knights, Jack's Knight, Queen's Knight, King's Knight, back into your deck, and you can add these 3 back to your hand. So 4 plus 6, that's 10. So multiply that by 500. Basically, Triumph Joker would gain 5,000 attack, plus an additional 500 from your opponent's draw phase, basically. So it would gain 5,500, which that right there is just absolutely nuts. But what's even more crazy is that depending on what cards you have in your hand, you can send a monster from your hand to your grave, and all face up, all face-up cards with that type are destroyed. So it's basically an omni board wipe, so to speak. So it could be a Regeki, or it could be a Harpy's Feather Duster, depending on how you see fit, which is just absolutely insane. Then of course I'm running 2 copies of Imperial Bower. This is basically one of your combos, one of your main like combo stars of sorts. So if you have this card on your board and you have no other monsters, you get to tribute this card, summon out King's Knight and Queen's Knight, or Jack's Knight and King's Knight, however you want to see it, and it allows you to go into your assault plays, which will help you go dig deeper for some of your other monsters, to help you go into your Nightmare Phoenix plays, or to help you thin your deck out a little bit more for the Royal Straight, which is just absolutely insane. And then to round up the monsters, as far as the fire attribute ones, because I am running not just light monsters but fire as well, I am running 2 copies of Rose Warrior of Revenge. This is basically your tuner for the deck. I am running 2 synchro monsters, but one of them I am using as a... But one of them, you might be surprised with what that one is. If you guys saw my last deck profile, then you know what's up, but it is a Waking the Dragon target, which I am running 1 copy of in the deck, which I'll explain that in a bit. But Rose is really good. Is really good, not just because of the fact that it can help you go into your level 8 synchro plays, but its effect, when it deals damage to your opponent, it can deal an additional 300. So in a scenario where your opponent's monster has like 0 attack and they accidentally put it into attack position, basically your opponent will be dealt 1900 damage, which is just hilarious. Then of course we've got the 1 Infernoble Knight Renaud. This is basically the target for the Royal Straight Slasher, but in a scenario where you want to choose, where you want to summon the level 10 synchro, then yeah, go ahead and use it, but you're mainly going to be using this card for the Royal Straight Slasher effect, if it is at all possible, of course. And then I am running 2 copies of Ash Blossom for 2 reasons. 1, because it's a hand trap, and 2, mainly for the Royal Straight Slasher effect, which is going to be nuts if you're able to resolve its effect. Moving on into the spells, there are 15 spells. We've got the 1 for the one-ofs. For the one-ofs, we got the 1 Rhoda. Obviously, Rhoda is Rhoda. Search out a warrior from your deck to your hand, level 4 or lower. Monster aboard, Harpy's Feather Duster, Callby, and Face Card Fusion. Face Card Fusion is mainly in here to summon Arcana Knight Joker, but in a scenario where it's buried deep in your deck and you have the Royal Straight in your hand, then you can basically use the Royal Straight as a poly to summon the Arcana Knight Joker right off the bat, which is just insane. We got the 3 Joker Straight to help you easily go into the King's Knight, Queen's Knight, Jack's Knight play. We got the 3 Royal Straight, which again, as I mentioned before, can help you go into pretty much any of your knights, your Jack's Knight, Queen's Knight, King's Knight, Triumph Joker, Slasher, Joker's Knight, Bower, Arcane, or even also your Arcana Knight Joker as well, which is absolutely insane. Even your extra Joker is also one that can be used as a target for the Royal Straight, which is just insane. We got the 2 copies of Super Poly, mainly as a way to stop your opponent, basically, which is just absolutely insane. And I'll explain what the Super Poly targets are once we get into the extra deck. And then to round out the spells, we got 2 copies of Infernoble Arms Durandal as a way to search out Rose if you don't have it in your hand somehow, but you do have the Durandal. It basically acts as a second and third Rhoda for the Warrior of Revenge. But for the traps, we have 7 traps. We have the Waking the Dragon, the singular copy of Waking the Dragon. We got the 2 Joker's Wild to help you go into the face card fusion. If you don't have a way to, if you don't have face card fusion in your hand, and you don't even have and you don't have Royal Stray, Joker's Wild can basically just help you go into the face card fusion to help you go into the Arcana Knight Joker, which is absolutely insane. We got the 2 copies of DNA Surgery for a couple reasons. One is because if you're going up against say zombies, let's say that as an example, but your opponent activates Zombie World, you can chain DNA Surgery, target, declare Warrior, and Zombie World is just dead. It's no good. You can't use it. Your opponent cannot use Zombie World because DNA Surgery basically allows you to declare one monster type, and all monsters on the field, no matter whether they were already on board or whether they're summoned right off the bat, they instantly become Warrior, and it helps you, and it actually helps going up against the zombie decks, and pretty much any other deck that has a field spell where all monsters on both players' fields become a different type. So DNA Surgery is there for that, but here's the thing though, in a scenario where you're also going up against the frog decks as well, this card could be so useful against it, which is just insane. And then to round up the main deck, the 40 card main deck, we've got the 2 copies of Solemn Warning, which is Solemn Warning. Moving on into the extra deck, I'm going to go backwards from Link to Fusion just to showcase you guys how crazy the extra deck is. We got the 2 copies of Soul, 2 Tales of the Noble Knights, which is basically sort of like your 4th and 5th Rhoda of sorts, which is insane. Not much else to say about that. We got the Nightmare package. We got the Cerberus, Phoenix, and Unicorn. Cerberus focuses on monsters that were special summoned. Phoenix focuses on the back row. Unicorn just focuses on pretty much any card in general. And what's cool about Unicorn is that if Unicorn is co-linked with both Phoenix and Cerberus, guess what? Instead of drawing 1 card during your normal draw, you get to draw 3 cards. You get to draw 3 cards. 1 for your normal draw, and then 2 more because of the fact that Phoenix and Cerberus were co-linked with the Unicorn, which is insane. We got the Arcana Extra Joker as sort of like another Omni Negate, so to speak, which is basically sort of like a second Arcana Knight Joker of sorts, which is incredible. We got the Access Code Talker. If you don't have access to Access Code Talker, then cards like Boral Sword Dragon, cards like Crusadia Avermax would be another good replacement. Even also Borderland Dragon could be another one they could use, but in a scenario where you need a massive board wipe that wasn't Zeus, you need to have the Access Code Talker, because that is basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Is basically you have 6 board wipes, which is just insane. For the Xyz monsters, we got the 2 copies of Time Thief Redoer. The more materials they have, the more board wipes you'll have for Zeus, which I am running one copy of. We got the 1 Cypher Lord Omega, and then the Waken the Dragon target, which is the Ally of Justice Decisive Armor. This card is a fucking house. Not much else to say about it. For the fusions, we got the Arcana Knight Joker as the Royal Street target and the face card fusion target. But in a scenario where you have Super Poly and DNA Surgery on board, you would go Super Poly Chain Link 1, DNA Surgery Chain Link 2, DNA Surgery resolves, you call Warrior, Super Poly then triggers, you target let's say I'll say your Jax Knight and your opponent's Dark Monster, let's say, and you have Guilty Gear Free the Magical Steel Knight. And then, of course, we got the Invoked Macaba. The reason being is because if in a scenario where you're going up against the Invoked decks, because I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of Invoked decks as time progresses, as we get more, as we get like more and more cards for certain decks. Invoked is going to be one of the main problems of the meta as we move towards the summer. So Invoked Macaba is going to be one of the biggest cards that you're going to need to have in this deck, because if your opponent were to normal summon Alistair and they don't have any way to bring it back from their in their hand, Super Poly is going to be a massive pain in the fucking ass for your opponent. Because if you have Jax Knight as an example, as an example, if you were to have Jax Knight on board, you set Super Poly, you set the DNA surgery, and you pass. Your opponent normal summons the Alistair. You activate Super Poly, and boom, boom! You instantly have the Invoked Macaba, which is just absolutely insane. It's just too broken. It is just a too broken of a combo, easily. Not much else to say about it. Plus, Macaba is basically your Omni Negate, which is just insane. Moving on into the side deck. The side deck is just pretty much the same as the last time I did the profile. I did do a bit of a switch up, a little bit as far as like the monsters go. There's one extra deck monster in here that I added, and in case in case if you don't need the Assault, a copy of Assault, you just cite it out for this one. But I'll get to that here in a second. But as far as like your floodgates, your floodgate monsters go, we got the 2 artifact scythe, which basically stops your opponent from summoning monsters from the extra deck. We got the 2 artifact Lancia as a way to stop your opponent from banishing cards. So in a scenario where you have a sold, and your opponent activates let's say call by Chainlink 2, and let's say so in a scenario where I'll say your opponent activates call by on one of your monsters. Let's say your Ash Blossom. Let's on the Ash Blossom after they had activated Eroda. Let's say that for example, and they activate Twin Twister as Chainlink 3. They would target also your Joker Straight, which would be the bait, but Artifact Lancia would be the main card that you would want them to destroy. In that sense, once it's special summon in defense position, Call By is just basically done. Your opponent cannot use Call By because they're banned, because Call By banishes cards. And Lancia prevents that from happening. We got the 2 Ghost Spell and the 2 Ghost Ogre in conjunction with the Ash Blossom. Bell focuses on the graveyard. Ogre focuses on the field, and Ash Blossom focuses on the deck. And then the one extra deck monster that I talked about is Decode Talker. In case if you don't need a second Assault and you only need one because you already got like the Rundles and whatnot, then definitely side out one of the Assaults for the Decode. Excuse me, and you essentially just have another like Omni Negate of sorts, which is insane. For the spells, there's only 2 spells in the deck. Excuse me, and it's 2 copies of Shared Ride. This is basically the secondary option to Maxi, because you guys know Maxi is banned in the TCG. What in the hell? Okay, something just happened. I got an emergency alert here. Chevy Chase Canyon residents safely evacuate your home and proceed to the evacuation site. Glendale. Okay, so it's not. So it's. That's actually pretty far from here. Okay, never mind. Apparently there's. Oh, that's right. Because of the heavy winds that we've had recently, fires are starting to come out. I did not think it would ever happen this year. Last year we didn't get. I don't think we got any fires last year. But moving on. We have the 2 copies of Shared Ride. You guys know Maxi is currently banned in the competitive TCG. In Master Duel, it is not, which is just stupid. But Shared Ride basically acts as Maxi. So its effect reads, for the rest of this turn, each time a card or cards is added from the main deck or grave to your opponent's hands, except by drawing them, you immediately draw 1 card. So in a scenario where you're going up against search heavy based decks, Shared Ride will definitely come into play really quickly, and it'll help you dig deeper into your Royal Straights, your face card fusions, your super polys if you are searching for them. Then of course we have, and then for the traps, we have the 2 copies of Mind Drain. There's really not a whole lot of hand traps in there's not a whole lot of cards from that have effects in the hand. So Mind Drain can really work out, but Arcana Triumph Joker her effect can be used in the graveyard. Ash Blossom has an effect in the hand. Joker's Knight has an effect in the hand, as does the Renaud. So other than those, you really don't care. You're not really going to do a whole lot of special summoning from the hand. You're going to be doing a lot of special summoning from the graveyard and also from your deck as well. So Mind Drain will really come into play because its effect reads: activate this card by paying 1,000 life points. Now the player can activate the effects of monsters in the hand. So in a scenario where you're getting the Rhoda effect off of your Assault and your opponent activates Ash Blossom, you can chain the Mind Drain, pay the 1,000, and Ash Blossom is just negated right off the bat. And then to round up the whole deck itself, we got the 2 copies of Solemn Strike in the side in case if the Solemn Warnings don't work. You can use the Solemn Strikes instead. But guys, all in all, I gotta admit, this deck is just absolutely insane. It is a house. There ain't much to say about it except that it is just insane. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this deck profile. If you guys did enjoy and you guys want to see more deck profiles in the future, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and make sure you guys are following me on Twitter and Instagram so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And make sure you guys, make sure you guys are following me on Twitter and Instagram. The links will be in the description below. And as always, if you guys have any fan mail you guys want to send me and you guys want me to open it up on the channel, all the info will be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.